Wow, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. And I'm up and watching online news like I normally do. And I figure, why not? Why not comment on Cenk Uygur and his attempt to smear Glenn Greenwald? Because that's what it was. It was a smear. Long story short, you heard it all before. Until recently, I was pretty much a solid fan of the Young Turks. I won't go into too much detail because you heard it all before. Why I became a fan of the Young Turks. And except to say that the time I was a fan of the Young Turks, back then they were a pretty decent independent news outlet. So, as I said, I don't want to repeat myself, and I have a tendency to do that. They went into a slow decline. And it started with the Jeffrey Katzenberg money, who is a major Clinton donor. Because when you give people a $20 million endowment, you know there's going to be damn strings attached. And I saw the writing on the wall on election night 2016 when they went into a meltdown. Now, I agree, Donald Trump getting elected sucks. But you know what? Donald Trump is no longer president. They're still obsessed with Donald Trump. He's not going to be elected in 2024. He may run, but he's a clown. He's not going to be elected in 2024. He's damaged the Republican Party, which actually makes me think that original conspiracy theory that I have about the link between Bill and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump might have been true all along, whereby they were friends. And I think that maybe the plan was to destroy the Republican Party from within. And if that was the plan, to destroy the Republican Party from within by using something like a Donald Trump, Machiavellian politics, but then I may have to, given if it is true, maybe I would give the Clintons some praise, because we can all agree that a fractured Republican Party will only mean more good for America and more good for the world. But I unfortunately don't think that. I think that the Clinton Katzenberg money was meant to turn TYT into trash, which is basically what happened. Their Trump derangement syndrome, their Russia phobia, and their really obnoxious, hyper partisan politics for the Democratic Party. Carrying water for the Democratic Party all the time seems to be the motto of the Young Turks. Now, as far as hyper-partisanship, yes, Republicans get 99.9999% of the time will always be worse than the Democrats. But I don't believe in making excuses for Democrats as a result. But they become part of the mainstream media as far as I'm concerned. I don't care how edgy they are online. They're basically MSNBC light or MSNBC made for hipsters. I am no longer impressed with the Young Turks. Their attacks on Aaron Maté with the Anarcho-Kasparian meltdown, their attacks on Jimmy Dore and the back and forth that goes on. And Jimmy Dore is not blameless. There are things about Jimmy Dore that are questionable. But, given the choice between Jimmy Dore and TYT, I'm going to side with Jimmy Dore over TYT. But I'm probably the most offended with dragging Kyle Kalinske into this drama that's going on. And it's more than drama, but it's coming across as drama when you watch it online. I mean, and guilty as charged. I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh shit, what's going on now? What's going on now? Oh no, what's going on now? Well, it's bad. That is bad when you get, when you get Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, um, you know, giving his take on the Young Turks, and it's worth listening to. I have the technology to try to put the videos up on the screen, but it's just a matter of figuring it out. So you're going to have to deal with me being less technically savvy until hopefully the near future. Spoiler alert. But anyway, I figure you needed to hear this, and I will quickly comment.
I was asked about it, and here's what he said.
Yes, fucking stupid fat prick. It's just as long as they're throwing the F word around. I mean, and that woman, I haven't the faintest idea who she is, but she obviously can't read or write. All you have to do is a little bit of research to understand that all the research that has gone into the OPCW debunked, and the huge story that is the OPCW, sorry, and the huge story that lies behind that has been completely ignored by the mainstream media because it's inconvenient. And when you actually look at the work that Aaron Mate, for a start, but Grey Zone in general do in trying to bring us, we the people, the truth about what's actually going on in our world, to listen to that garbage and disgusting and foul-mouthed, I have to say. Very well. I hesitate to call her a young lady because she's clearly not in the prime of youth. But that's neither here nor there. But the fact is, how dare she pontificate on some tinfoil fucking show like the fabulous Young Turks or whatever they call themselves? Well, who the fuck are they? I mean, to claim that she knows that Bashar Assad made a chemical attack to kill his own children or the children of his people is beyond condemnable. Is that a word?
I think so.
Yes. I shouldn't really be expending any breath on it because it's so pitiful and pathetic. I am not going to waste my borrow on whatever the young fucks are, because that was disgusting.
Yeah.
And I've heard bad things about them for a long time, but they purport to be thinking young people who have an alternative. They're not. They are the status quo bolstering what the great American empire believes, and obviously they're great supporters of regime change in Syria.
I hate to say it, but Roger Waters from Pink Floyd is correct. They're pretty much it's almost like they're a woke version of listening to Fox News in 2003, 2004 during the Bush-Cheney era, or the war in Iraq, and United we stand, that sort of thing. It's kind of like they're a woke version of that. And I mean, I to sit there and to and again, in the past, I've seen Aaron Mate and I've seen Max Blumenthal, all of these folks from the Grey Zone. They've been on the Young Turks and they have orbited around in their circle, and now they're the enemy. They're the enemy. And now TYT goes and attack Glenn Greenwald as if he's some kind of a right winger, which is ridiculous. We're talking about a Jewish man who is gay, who lives in Brazil with his husband, David Miranda, who is a congressman from the Socialism and Liberty Party, which is a Trotskyist organization that split off from the more mainstream Workers' Party. We're talking about a man who he and his husband have to fear for their lives because there's an actual fascist that's actually in control in Brazil right now. A fascist that one could say is much worse for his people than even Donald Trump was during the last 4 years. A man who openly claims who wants to murder 30,000 of his political opponents. A man who basically said to a woman that he would not rape her because she's not attractive enough. You talk about sexual harassment. We're talking about, and we're talking about Glenn Greenwald, who's the reason why Lula da Silva will become more than likely president again of Brazil, who's played a role in him getting released. So, to sit there and to attack Glenn Greenwald as some kind of neo-Nazi, and that's what he did later on. We're talking a man who won the Izzy Awards, the George Parker Awards, the ESSO Awards for the excellence in reporting, the Pulitzer Prize, among others. We're talking about a man that's defender of Ed Snowden, Julian Assange, that actually wants to stop the NSA from monitoring what our emails, our phone calls, what we do. The surveillance state that we have now, thanks to not just George W. Bush and Dick Cheney for making sure that the Patriot Act passed, but President Biden currently, who wrote a lot of the crap that's in the Patriot Act, that it was a stored piece of legislation waiting for an emergency like 9/11 to make sure that we become a surveillance state. 1984 is here. George Orwell was correct. And we're talking about a man who's a civil liberties attorney, basically an old school ACLU style attorney who fights for individual rights, freedom of speech, that sort of thing. I know some people on the left don't find that particularly sexy these days, and it is to their detriment to do so. But anyway, I digress. Getting back to July 7th, 2021. That was yesterday. TYT Responds to Glenn Greenwald is the title. And Cenk Uygur went on a rant to attack Glenn Greenwald. I know he is also an excuse to attack Jimmy Dore. Not going to discuss Jimmy Dore. Been there, done that. Through discussing Jimmy Dore. Now he is attacking Glenn Greenwald. And I tell you, a few weeks ago, I was on Twitter and I saw back and forth between Cenk Uygur and Glenn Greenwald, basically telling each other to fuck off. It's ridiculous. It is low. And you got to hear the slop that's come out of Cenk Uygur. I used to admire Cenk Uygur. And now he disgusts me. Listen.
Okay, now, just because the Nazis agree with Glenn and Jimmy, and by the way, other people, it doesn't mean that Glenn and Jimmy are Nazis. We're fair. You look at Hitler was a vegetarian. That doesn't mean vegetarians are Nazis, right? But when the Nazis agree with you, you should probably quadruple check your position. Did Glenn look like he quadruple checked his position? No.
Okay. I'll tell you what, that's bullshit. Damn right, Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald are not Nazis or neo-Nazis or what have you. Why? Because they're not. They are anti-racist. They are they're anti-bigotry. And anybody with a brain in their head would know that. But okay. And let's go with this ridiculous assertion that maybe some neo-Nazis can identify with some of the things that's said by Glenn Greenwald or Jimmy Dore. You know what? David Duke basically praised Ilhan Omar 2 years ago. Now, wouldn't it be a ridiculous assertion to say that Ilhan Omar is just like David Duke because David Duke was sympathetic to her very mild and correct criticisms of the American Israeli Political Action Committee, and just because AIPAC is not a force for good in a lot of ways in DC, doesn't make me want to be on the side of David Duke. In other words, with David Duke, he can fuck off, even though he may be correct to side with Ilhan Omar over this situation. And for the record, Ilhan Omar is not an anti-Semite. Ilhan Omar is not, she's not. And her mild criticisms of AIPAC does not make her a vile anti-Semite, So I just want to have that clarified, right there. Now, Cenk Uygur. Now, anybody who knows anything about Cenk Uygur, he was a Republican in the 1990s. He's about my age. I think he's younger than I am. In the 1990s, he was a Republican, and I sort of venture or guess or speculate that he might have been maybe a libertarian-leaning Republican, for what I can tell about him. But he made some terrible remarks about women, because apparently he had problems in the dating department while he was in college, and he wrote some blogs about his thoughts on women. I'm not exactly the prettiest person myself to look at. So in some ways, I can understand that. I can understand that. But here's the thing. He made some ugly remarks about women because he was kind of frustrated in his life about his bad luck or what have you. It seems like he's now happily married with kids and everything, and all the best in that regard. All the best. I don't care if you're my political enemy. If you got a good domestic life with your spouse and your children and family, be happy at what you do. But here's the thing. He made these remarks. They were kind of ugly. And it was also with a little bit of sarcasm, for what I can understand. So when he and Kyle Kalinske founded the Justice Democrats to try to do the noble cause of taking over the Democratic Party and turning the Democratic Party into a social democratic party, or returning the Democratic Party to more or less its New Deal roots, those were noble causes. Unfortunately, some people in the college Democrats were like, well, Cenk Uygur said this and this and that about women back in the 1990s. Now, here's the problem with the Justice Democrats virtue signaling. He said it in the past. He's ashamed that he wrote those things in the past. And I think they could have just let that slide on by. And Cenk Uygur did the right thing, and he resigned from the Justice Democrats to not cause a problem. It shouldn't have gone to that. It should not. Justice Democrats shouldn't even made an issue about it. I don't think it was a big deal that he said that. But honestly, it was terrible that he said it, but it was in the past. When you're younger, you do and say stupid things. Well, Kyle Kalinske went and resigned from the Justice Democrats, and Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kalinske continue to support the Justice Democrats in their work, and they have done some good work. But unfortunately, with the good work they have done, and to the point where great. You got close to 10, around 10 members of the squad now. I'm happy that they're there. I really am. But you know what? It would be nice if the squad would be aggressive instead of acolytes for Nancy Pelosi. It would be nice if they could just be aggressive and make the corporate Democrats sweat and pressure them. That's what we put them in there for. But anyway, in that regard, as I said, Cenk Uygur was done a disservice. For this, and his words toward Glenn Greenwald is actually just as bad as what the Justice Democrats did to Cenk Uygur. And I am frankly very, very disappointed with Cenk Uygur for what he did. And I no longer consider the Young Turks on the left. As far as I'm concerned, the Young Turks, to me, in my view, the Young Turks are now, basically no different from MSNBC, no different from CNN, no different from the mainstream news network news, and actually with their foreign policy these days, with things like supporting selective bombings and throwing softball questions at Madeleine Albright and just that sort of thing. Are they all that different from Fox News? Fox News, when Sean Hannity is having a very neocon moment, or Mark Levin. Now, they attacked Glenn Greenwald. They attacked Jimmy Dore for appearing on Tucker Carlson. Again, I have said this before, and I'll say it again. There are things about Tucker Carlson that are reprehensible. What he has to say about brown people is terrible. You know, the fact that when he was in college, he belonged to the Jesse Helms Society. You know, it just he soft pedals a lot of you know, racism, but is he all that different from other people for Fox News or Republican candidates other than Donald Trump for using racialized dog whistles? Is he all that different? And the fact that you know, people like Jimmy Dore and people like Cenk Uygur, people like Jimmy Dore, and Glenn Greenwald convinced Tucker Carlson to let's go and move these troops out of Afghanistan. Let's have freedom for Julian Assange. I remember when the left, we were all pretty much on Julian Assange's side, and now we think some of us on the left think Julian Assange is a bad person. What makes y'all any different when you're doing that from the goons during the Bush-Cheney era? What makes you different? You know, that's what I want to know. And to me, it's just like, to me, they're sellouts. The Young Turks are sellouts. And yeah, I mean, Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, I no longer consider y'all allies on furthering the cause of the left. As far as I'm concerned, both of y'all became Wolf Blitzer. You're Wolf Blitzer, you're Anderson Cooper, you're Sean Hannity. As far as I'm concerned, you're not part of the independent left media anymore. $20 million certainly had a lot to do with changing everything. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, we'll comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're all the muckrakers of our time. TYT's obviously not muckrakers anymore, but we all can be. Feel free to share the content on this channel, and also, very important, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And until next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace. Class struggle yesterday, class struggle today, class struggle tomorrow, and class struggle until we achieve full economic and social justice in our time.